Welcome back, everyone. We are finally back home in beautiful Vancouver. The weather here is unbelievable, but we're going to get straight into some poker today. I'm going to be doing the thing where I take every single hand I play and review every single one. If I open up 5-7 suited under the gun, get 3-bet and fold, it's going to be included in the vlog. So every single hand, this is 2 sessions of 2-5 that I played at Park. And we talk about some exploits, my thought processes, and just how to play everything from small pots to medium to the very big ones. With that being said, I've also got one more announcement. The next video is going to be another big challenge series. It's going to be fun. You're going to have to wait until next week to see, but it's going to be good. But anyways, let's jump straight into some poker hands. No B-roll, nothing today. We're going to get straight to some poker. See you at the room. Here we are, folks, at Park Casino in for 1500, the max. We are playing some 2-5s. Sometimes an occasional 10 gets in there, but it won't be on the entire day. So LoJack is raised up to $50, bigger than he normally goes. This man has a big hand, so pocket pairs play very well. If we hit a deuce, we put more money in the pot. If we don't, we fold. So I make the call in the straddle, go heads up to this flop of king, jack, 8, 1 heart, 2 diamonds. I check it to my opponent. He puts in a bet of 50, and I'm going to follow through with my plan of folding unless I hit a set. On to the next hand. In this next hand, LoJack is open up to $35. I look down at ace, 9 of spades in the small blind. Don't really like calling out of the small blind, especially with the straddle, so I bump it up to 140. Folds back round, and LoJack, after a bit of thought, folds, picking up a nice little small pot there. In this next hand, it folds round to us. We pick up pocket 7s on the button, bump it up to $30. Big blind now puts in the re-raise, but it's only up to 70. Straddle gets out the way. I see no point in re-raising. We are never folding, so it's one option. We make the call, and this time we're going to hit a set. The flop comes down 10, 8, 7. That is bottom set on a very draw-heavy board, the dream. My opponent continues to put more money in, a big bet of 100 into this pot. We are definitely going to raise here. A lot of bad cards that can come. I'm not too worried about them, but imagine the 9 of spades comes. It's going to kill a lot of action. It feels like he's got a pretty big hand here, so I bump it up to 300. My opponent doesn't think for too long and then moves all in. We make the call. We're off to the races. The turn is the king of diamonds, the river, 10 of diamonds. We show our hand. My opponent shows us pocket aces. Just like that, we're up $1,000 on the day. It's a great way to start. We're about 4 hands in and already stacks of one. We've got another suited ace here. Ace 6 of hearts in middle position. Bump it up to $25. We get 3 callers, so we're going 4 ways to this flop, which is quite nice. It's queen, 8, 4, 2 hearts, and a club. Action checks to me. Going to start with small bet here. Nut flush on a board like this seems like a pretty good way to start betting. So 30 into the middle. Cut off folds, button, big blind, and under the gun make the call. 3 ways to the turn. It is the deuce of spades. Action once again checks to me. I see no reason to slow down here. The deuce is not going to improve anyone. And I'm still going to have all the over pairs, the strongest queens that are going to want to keep betting here. So I put another bet in there. 150, sizing up, 3/4 pot. Big blind now folds, and under the gun now puts in the check raise up to 400. Pretty happy to see this, to be honest. Not that much has changed, and I think he would have raised a set on the flop. So sometimes we are behind, and we are going to lose, you know, another 250 on this turn raise, but I think most of his hands are going to be quite draw heavy. So I make the call. We're off to the river. It is the jack of clubs. We don't get there. Now my opponent's deep in the tank. I'm just praying that he checks. If he checks, we most likely win. After a bit of thought, he does check. Very happy to check this one back. My opponent shows us the 5-3 of hearts. So unfortunate that we didn't get another heart on the river, but at least we faded the 6 and the ace. We're blocking both his straight outs, but scooping another $1,000 pot here with just ace high. LoJack has raised to 30, button is called, and I defend the straddle with the king 9 off. 3 ways to this flop of 4-4 deuce, 2 hearts, 1 diamond. I check. LoJack puts in a bet of 50, button folds, and no need to get fancy here. We just fold, move on to the next hand. This next hand, cutoff has raised to $30. We look down at ace 5 of diamonds on the button, bump it up to 100, folds back round, and we take it down pre. No fun. Looking down at ace 9 offsuit on the button, bump it up to 30, folds round to the straddle, who puts in more money. 130, that is too much for ace 9 off, so we fold. In this next hand, under the gun has raised to 25, under the gun +2, mid position, LoJack, hijack, have called, we call as well. This invites the button, the small blind, and the big blind in. This isn't a bomb pot because they're not allowed at Park, but we go 9 ways to the flop. It is jack, 5, 5, 2 hearts, 1 spade. Action checks all the way over to the low jack, I believe, who put in a bet of 75, and the rest of us just get out of there. We have a low jack raised to 30, high jack has called, small blind has called, and I defend my straddle king 10 off. 4 ways to this flop of jack 7-6 rainbow. Check it over. Now the hijack puts in a bet of 50. When it gets to me, we just fold. Don't worry, guys. The hands are going to pick up. Don't you worry. They're going to pick up soon. There's a limp, and then we look down at king 4 diamonds in the hijack. Versus this limper, we are going to want to play some pots with him, especially in position. So I bump it up to $40, folds around, and only he makes the call. Heads up to this flop of 10-5-3, 2 hearts, 1 spade. Opponent checks, and I don't see much sense in betting here. We don't have a whole lot going on. It's a little bit connected, a lot of hands that can float, so I just check it back. Turn is a jack of hearts, and now my opponent puts in a bet of $60, and we get out of there. My opponent is nice enough to show us his hand. Unfortunate. A C-bet would have taken it down, but that's not how we play. We don't play results-oriented. Straddle is off this hand, but I open up the jack 10 of diamonds up to 15 in the low jack. Cutoff now puts in the re-raise up to 55, big blind calls, and I make the call as well. 3 ways to this flop of king 7-6 rainbow, not even a diamond in sight, but action goes and checks all the way through. Turn is a 5 of hearts. Big blind checks, I see no sense in betting, I check once again. Cutoff now puts in a bet of 125, and we both get out of the way. Straddle is once again off, but under the gun +2 has limped. I bump it up to 25 with the ace king off. For the button now puts in a very small re-raise up to $60. The limper calls, and now we definitely have to put in the 4-bet, especially against this sizing, so I bump it up to 240. Button wastes no time at all in making the call, and the limper gets out the way. Heads up to this flop of queen, jack, 6 rainbow. Pretty good board for my overall range, although he's going to have more pocket queens and pocket jacks than I am. So I like to put in a small bet, but I don't want to go 1/3 or 1/4. Generally, I go around 10% here, so I put in a bet of 50. Which my opponent does the most annoying thing in the world and raises to 125. The pot is 600, raising $70 over my raise. This is so annoying. It just crushes the exact hand I have. We have to call here, at least one street. I would never re-raise with value, so I'm not going to do it with ace king. But we take a turn. It is a 4 of clubs, does not improve me. I check once again, and now he puts in a very small bet of 275. You know, if he's bluffing us, good for him. I'm going to have aces, kings, queens, jacks that all play this way. Ace, queen. You know, I just don't have to continue here with ace, king. So this sucks. This sucks. I'll let it go this much in the pot, but I'm not going to do anything stupid here. I just fold. Yeah. All right, a little ace, king redemption here. This time suited. Under the gun +2 has raised it up to $30. Straddle is on. Button is called. And I put in the squeeze up to 150. Under the gun gets out the way, and so does the button. Unfortunate. Straddle is live. Under the gun +2 and cutoff have limped. I open at 6-5 of clubs in the small blind. Good enough for a raise. I make it 60 to go. Straddle gets out the way. Under the gun +2 calls, and cutoff folds. Heads up to this flop of 10-8-7, 2 diamonds, 1 heart. Okay, it's going to be a board that's much better for him, considering limp called in early position than it is for me. So for that reason, I'm going to check a lot of my hands here. 6-5, no difference. I check, and we face a bet of 80. Going to have to call here. Our open ender's not that great. A 9 is not really what we want to see. So we've only really got 3 clean outs, if we're even live. So I make the call. We head to the turn. It is a 10 of spades. I check. Now my opponent puts in a bet of 150. We are just down to the hand at this point. You know, even if we do hit a 9, he could have 10-9 now. Yeah, there's just no need to continue here, so I make the fold. Kind of unfortunate flop an open ender. I have to give it up that easy. In this next hand, under the gun +1 is raised up to 25. Player to my right has called. I look down at 7-4 off in middle position. I make the call, and so does everyone else at the table. We are 9 ways to this flop, which comes down ace, 10, deuce, 1 heart, 2 clubs. Action checks to me. I have nothing going on here, and I'm not going to try bluffing this 9 ways, so I check, and cutoff now bets out $60, and somehow actually manages to take it down. Straddle is off, but there's a limp, and then a raise to 20, and then I look down at pocket kings in middle position. We make it 65 to go. It folds back around, and under the gun +2 makes the call. We go heads up to this flop of 9-6-3 rainbow. My opponent checks, and now I think a lot of people think this is a small bet board. It actually isn't. I've been doing a lot of study in my time, and these are some very big bet boards. You're going to want to go pretty much like 80 to 133% on a lot of boards like this. There's something called urgency, which means hands like pocket tens, pocket jacks really want to start piling money in right now while they can still get paid, you know, one street of value from set sevens, eights, 10, 9, 9, 8. And there's going to be all these overcards that are going to come. And it's also going to put a lot more pressure on his unpaired hands as well. So Solver really likes big bets. We're on the flop. I like to follow what the Solver does. So I put in a big old bet, 150 into the middle. And my opponent gives it quite a bit of thought before letting it go, unfortunately. We have a hijack raised to 30. Big blind has called, and I defend my straddle king 6 of hearts. 3 ways to this flop of jack, 10, 9, rainbow. Big blind checks, I check, hijack puts in a bet of 30, big blind folds, and I know we've got like a gutter to the good end, but we could be up against ace king. We don't even have a backdoor flush draw, so I'm just going to let this one go. I know it's a small bet, but we're just going to have to give him credit. In this next hand, the straddle is off. We have 3 limpers before cutoff makes it $40. Folds around to me in the big blind. I make the call with the pocket 5s. This invites all 3 limpers in. We are 5 ways to this flop. Come on. Give me a set. The flop comes down 5, 4, 3. That is top set on a very draw-heavy board again. Not going to lead here, I don't think. So I check. Under the gun checks. Low jack checks. Hijack checks. And cutoff checks. Damn it. Turn is good. It's the 4 of spades. Now we have full house. Going to start trying to build this pot here. I put in a bet of $60. Under the gun folds. Low jack folds. And now hijack puts in the raise up to 175. Cutoff now folds, and now it's back on me. I think there's a small chance this guy does have a 4 here. But I think most likely he's just going crazy with a draw or something. So we want to give him a chance to get there. Or if he's going nuts with a hand like 7, 8, just give him a chance to blast off the river. So I'm not going to 3-bet here. I just make the call. River is the 8 of clubs. Doesn't change much. 6, 7 was already a straight, so love it. I check once again. Never leading here, of course. My opponent puts in a bet of 200. He's got about 600 in stacks, so unless he's got quads or pocket 8s, we are going to win this hand, so I move all in. 785 into the middle, and my opponent says, I don't think I can fold this, which sounds good to me, and he does indeed make the call. We roll it over, and we're up against the flopped straight with 6 deuce of clubs. We didn't know we needed to boat up, but we did, and luckily we did. We're winning another big pot here, over $2,000 with a flop set again. Great day. What a great day. Alright, the sets have been working out for us today. Let's see if we can hit a few more. Hijack has called, cutoff raised to 25. I looked on pocket 7s in the small blind. I make the call, so does big blind and the limper. 4 ways to this flop of ace, 10, 6. No set again. Checks the hijack or cutoff who bets 50, and I get out of there. Straddle is live, and we have another pocket pair. Let's hit a set again. Come on. 25 into the middle. Button calls as well as big blind and the straddle. 4 ways to this flop of jack 10 deuce. Dang it. They are all spades, but when it checks to me, not really wanting to bet here without a set, so I check it. Button puts in a bet of 55. Quite big for a monotone board, especially 4 ways. So when it folds back to me, you know what they say, no bet, no set, no check call, so I fold. Another pocket pair. Let's go. We bump up the pocket 6s to 15. The straddle is now permanently off, unfortunately. And action folds all the way through. We take it down pre-flop. The game's getting not so great now. On to the next hand. We open up the king jack of clubs in middle position up to 15. And once again, take it down pre. That's 2 in a row, guys. The game is officially dog shit. So I rack up my chips. I'm going to go see some friends that I haven't seen in a while instead of playing this. And we'll return another day to finish off our park video session. So let's just jump straight into day number 2. Let's go. It's a new day over at Park Casino. We're in once again for the max 1500. And our very first hand, we pick up ace jack off in the small blind. Straddle is on almost the entire day today. Cutoff has limped, and I bump it up to $50. Folds around, the limper makes a call. We go heads up to this flop of jack 6, 3, rainbow. What a way to start. Gonna put in a small bet here. Try to go around 1/3. I put in 30. Fortunately, my opponent folds. But always nice to win your first hand. Just a few hands later, we pick up the king jack off in the cutoff, bumping up to $25. We get a call from the button as well as the small blind. Heading 3 ways to this flop of jack 5, 4, 2 hearts, 1 dime. We got top pair again. This is going to be a good day. Small blind checks, I put in a 1/3 bet of 25, and only the small blind makes a call. Heads up to the turn, it is the 6 of clubs. Board's getting a little bit connected, but I don't expect him to have deuce 3, maybe sometimes some 7/8s, but not too often. He will have some 6/5, so not the best turn card in the world, but I'm not too worried about it. So when he checks, I'm going to want to keep betting here. Looks like we're going to need a slight overbet to get it all in by the river, so I go ahead and put in a bet of 125. I think I should have gone 150 here, but either way, he thinks for quite a while, and then makes the call once again. Let's get a nice clean river. Come on. It comes down. The 5 of spades. Pretty good river. You know, he can definitely have some hands like 5-7 suited here, but it's only 2 combos. Maybe ace-5 of hearts, but you know, that's 3 combos total, so I'm not too worried about this. So when he checks, we are going to go for it. He's got about, I thought he had around 500 behind. Maybe he had a little bit more, but it's a slight overbet to get it all in. So that is what I do. All in, 550, and we fade the snap call, which is always nice. And he's taking his time, he's thinking it over, and I can already feel it. We're about like a minute and a half into the tank, and I can feel it. He's gonna angry call. I can just tell. And eventually, he doesn't angry call, but he does take the chips with a frustration, puts it in. He's done thinking. We roll it over the king jack. He says, nice hand, and we are stacking an opponent already. Only 4 hands into the session. These are some good starts of the session. In this next hand, we have a raise to $25. Everybody calls. I call as well with a 5-4 diamonds. We're going 8 ways. Sorry, to this flop. And it could not get better. It comes down 7-6-5 with 2 diamonds. We have the open-ended straight flush draw with a bottom pair. It kind of sucks that we're not on the top end of this, but that's okay. I mean, there's quite a few 8-9 offsuits here that everyone can have. But I'm going to start with a check because we are in the big blind. I'm going to check 100% here. You never want to be betting too far out of position on the flop. Checks round to the low jack, who puts in a bet of $75, which the hijack makes a call. And now the button puts in the re-raise up to 325. Small blind gets out the way. Now it's on us. I consider raising again here, but then we're just going to run into 8-9, I think, too often here. Are we really going to get him to fold a hand like pocket 7s or 7-6 or 4-3? No, I don't think so. So the only option here is to call. And we can also play some hands like 8-9 as a call as well, so that, you know, on turns we can just get it in on blanks. But action folds around, so we are now heads up to the turn, and it comes down. The ace of clubs. I check it over, and my opponent just snap shoves over $2,000 into the middle. A 2x overbet. Nothing we can do here, unfortunately. It's kind of annoying. We flopped a pair, an open-ender, a flush draw, and a straight flush draw, and now we just have to let it go on the turn. Yeah, we fold, and my opponent is nice enough to show us he had pocket 7s for top set. So yeah, we're not going to win that one, unfortunately. That's going to be a big $350 dent to our stack. Hijack has limped. We looked at 9-7 of diamonds in the small blind, bump it up to $50, and the limper makes a call. Heads up to this flop of queen 6-5 rainbow. We got the backdoor flush draw as well as the gut shot. So I put in bets. I want to size up here, so I make it 85, and hijack makes a call. Hence the turn, it's okay. It's a 9 of spades. We improved to middle pair. I think this is enough showdown value to start slowing down now, so I do check it over. Now my opponent puts in a wager of 2-5. I don't think there's much to do here. We still have a gut shot. We have improved to a pair. A lot of his strong hands would have been raising on the flop, his pocket 6s, his pocket 5s, so I'm not too concerned just yet. And is he really going to have a strong queen here with a limp call? I don't think so. So I make the call. We're hence the river. It is the deuce of clubs. 4-3 does get there, a little bit worrisome. I check it over, and I think I'm planning to potentially hero call this. He eventually decides to move all in. And my heart is telling me in the moment that I should probably call here. I have a feeling. It feels like I should call. He looks like he's given off a few reverse tells. He's leaning back. He's taking a drink. And they feel forced when he's doing them. So I'm feeling like he's pretty weak, but I'll give it a little bit more thought. Just another minute of thought. And I try to think what bluffs he can have. Now, the good thing about us betting so big on the flop is it's going to eliminate a lot of his just really weird floats. Like Jack 10 isn't going to float against an $85 bet. I'd hope. But you never know. So he could be turning hand like 7s or 8s into a bluff, which seems insane. I don't think many people would do that, but he can have, you know, quite a bit of value here. 4-3, he can have 7-8, he could have 6s, he could have 5s, maybe he has deuces, pocket 9s. I think he would raise pocket 9s pre-flop. Maybe some queen 9 suited. I think he would also raise that pre-flop, but I'm really just struggling to think of some bluffs he can have after calling such a big bet on the flop. You know, he'd have to turn like a 6 or 5 into a bluff, and I just don't think he's doing it often enough for us to call here. So originally my heart said to call, but after thinking it through, I think we're gonna have to give up on this hero call. So I make a very reluctant fold. My opponent has a little grin on his face. It doesn't look good, but he's nice enough to show the 9-6 of hearts, so he turned the 2 pair, and that, all right, we get to save ourselves 700 on the river, so I'm pretty happy with that fold. Open up the pocket 9s in the small blind up to $30. Straddle makes a call. Heads up to a flop of queen, 10, 4, 2 diamonds, 1 spade. Gonna start with a check here. We're out of position. There's 2 overcards. No point in betting, so I check. My opponent checks back. Turns even worse. It's the king of spades. Gonna once again check here. Probably check fold. My opponent checks behind. River. Ace of spades. Oh my goodness. We check once again, and my opponent checks it back. I show, and he's got the queen 3 off. Queen 3 is going to win. What a horrible run out for pocket 9s. This next hand, we have a button raised to 35. Small blind has now put in the 3-bet up to 150, and I look down at 6-4 of clubs in the straddle. And I know what you're thinking already, but I have my reasons. Button is playing very loose. Small blind is attacking his extreme looseness. These two are battling it up. They're just going nuts at each other. This is also button versus small blind, right? This isn't under the gun versus mid position or something like that. It's button versus small blind, and small blind is a very aggressive player. I think he could be getting out of line enough, so I am going to go and get out of line myself. We put in the cold 4-bet up to 350. I can't go too much bigger than this, as I don't want to commit more than 25% of my stack here. Button makes a fold, and small blind asks for how much I have behind. It's around 1200, and then moves all in. Bad timing, I think. So we obviously fold, and my opponent, once again, nice enough to show us that he had pocket aces. Yeah, really bad timing. Okay, let's not do that again. We open up the king 6 of spades up to $25 in the hijack. Small blind makes the call, as does the under the gun player. 3 ways to this flop of queen 6 4 rainbow. Action checks to me. Gonna start with a small bet here. I'd prefer to do this multi-way. This was heads up. I think it's a clear check, but multi-way we could use a lot of protection, so I bet 25. Small blind gets out the way, and now under the gun, the player who is the button in the last hand bumps it up to $100. Definitely not done with the hand at this point. It's nice to have a 6 here. You know, blocking pocket 6s and pocket 4s I think is much more important here. So I think 6 is a much better call here than a queen, but I would just call both of them anyways. But anyways, we make the call. Turn is all right. It's a 6 of diamonds. We improved to trips. We're not really beating any hands that... we haven't improved to beat any hands with this card besides queen 4. So it's not like it changes the relative strength of our hand too much. But anyways, still nice to make trips. Now he bets 150. Never raising here. You know, his draws are limited to like 5-7, maybe some 7-8s. There's just not a lot of draws, so we don't have to try and deny equity. Let's just keep letting him blast off here. So we make the call. River. It's not great. It's the 8 of diamonds, probably my least favorite card there, as it completes the most obvious straight draw 5-7, as well as the backdoor flush draw. But after quite a bit of thought, my opponent decides to check it over. It looks like he's giving up, but maybe on the off chance he's got counterfeit queen 4. Let's try and get some value. I put in a bet 450, but he says that he just enjoys check raising and folds. We have 2 limps, and we look down at 9-8 of diamonds, bumping on up to $60, and we get a call from the small blind, as well as both the limpers. 4 ways to this flop of 7-7 deuce rainbow. We got the backdoor flush draw, some backdoor straight draws. So when it checks to me, I'm gonna start bluffing here. I like our hand. It blocks 8-7 as well as 9-7, both of them the suited variety. So I'm really happy with this hand as a bluff candidate. So 75 into the middle, and the player from last hand makes the call. So we're heading to the turn. It is the deuce of hearts. I really like this card. You know, even if he has a deuce, it's going to be tough for him to continue. A 7 is going to be quite rare. It's already trips. I know we were 4 ways, but versus anyone else, I would probably start slowing down. potentially, but versus this player, I'm not going to consider it. He can still have a ton of hands, 6s, 5s, 4s, 3s that are just knocking me in love with this. He could have some ace-high floats, so I really, really like our hand selection here to continue barreling. So when he checks to me, I'm going to put in a wager, setting up for the river shove, 350 into the middle. He thinks it over for quite a bit before announcing all in. Oh, our bluffs are not going well. We obviously fold, and he was nice enough to tell me that he did have a 7. Damn it, running to aces, into full houses. It's not going well. Opening up the ace-queen off, up to 25 in middle position. We get 2 callers, so we are going 3 ways to this flop. In position, comes down queen, jack, 4 rainbow. Pretty good start. We start with a small bet here, $25, and both opponents fold. Damn it. Open up the pocket 10s under the gun to $25, and only the straddle makes the call. Heads up to the flop of 10, 9, 7, 2 clubs, 1 spade. There's top set. My opponent checks. This is a board I'm going to be betting very infrequently and for very small sizes, so 15 into the middle. My opponent folds. No. The same opponent who had the full house on the 7-7 deuce-deuce board has limp for 10. We look on ace-10 of clubs in the small blind, bump it up to 50, folds around and he makes the call. Heads up to his flop of queen, jack, 10, 2 spades, 1 heart. Could bet small. I don't know. I decide just to check it, and my opponent checks behind. Turn is the ace of spades, so any king is now a straight as well as a flush draw getting there. We do improve to 2 pair though, but I check, and my opponent checks behind. River. 3 hearts. Gonna go some very small value here. I put in a bet of 25, and he folds. Folds around to me this time. I got a suited jack 4 on the button. I bump it up to 30, and only the straddle makes a call. Heads up to a flop of jack 10, 3, 2 spades, 1 heart. Opponent checks, and top pair's not that great. It's a pretty dynamic board. Have to just check this one back. Turn. It's nice. The jack of diamonds improved to trips. My opponent once again checks, and I put in a bet of 25. Which my opponent pretty quickly calls. Off to the river, it is the 8 of diamonds. Not my favorite card, you know, queen 9, 9, 7 do get there, but my opponent checks once again. And I have a feeling I could get him to hero call with a 10 with a very big bet. I just have a feeling. So I go big. 250 into the middle. Unfortunately, my opponent just says he missed and folds, so it doesn't really matter anyways. Opening up the deuces in the low jack up to 25, folds around to the straddle. Puts in the re-raise up to 100. I am going nowhere against our friend here, so we make the call. We're off to a flop, which comes down. Jack 9-6. Dang it. He puts in a bet of 100. No set, no call. I make the fold. On to the next hand. Opening up the 8-6 of hearts in early position up to $25. We get a button call as well as a big blind and straddle. 4 ways to this flop, which comes out pretty good. It's 7-3 deuce, 2 hearts, but board that's not going to hit me too often. I do have more over pairs, but with an 8 high flush, 4 ways out of position, I don't really want to go too crazy, so I decide to start with a check here and button checks behind. Turn. It's a 9 of spades. Big blind now checks, under the gun checks. Now we've picked up an open-ender to go along with our flush draw. I think it's time to start betting here. You know, it's a good chance we're going to hit by the river, so might as well build the pot. Maybe we take it down here, so 15's the middle. Button makes a call. And under the gun calls as well. 3 ways to this river. It comes down. The 3 of spades. We don't get there, unfortunately. Under the gun checks, and I don't think I'm going to get through 2 players here, so I decide to just give this one up. I throw in the check, and now button, after thinking for a bit, puts in a bet, but it's only 100. Under the gun tanks for quite a while, and then makes the fold, and now it's back on me. And look, I'm a simple guy. I see a capped range. I'm going to attack it by putting more money into the pot. But my process is this. He was on the button. It got checked to him. He cannot have 7s, 3s, or deuces here. Those are must-bet hands on the flop. There's no way he's checking those back. On the turn, if he turned... You know, he had a pocket 9s either. He would have bet that on the flop. So he has no sets here. He might have 9-7 suited, but there's 2 combos that left. He might have a 3. But I doubt it. He's a pretty solid player. So this seems like something like ace-9 suited, maybe some 10-9 suited going for some thin value. But keep in mind, if you're in position on the river and you have someone that is kind of competent, I'll give myself that. Don't bet anything less than 75% pot on the river in position, because the amount that you gain if they do call is just not going to outweigh the times that you get bluffed off when I do look into this and pick up a read and then pile $450 into your face. And now you're in a tough spot with top pair. You know, I can definitely have pocket nines here. I could have gone for the check raise with the sets, and I'm more likely to have sets here than he is. And I could have some ace-3 suited as well. Not too often though, but I do have quite a few full houses that are going to play this way. So 450 into the middle and button. And then lets it go. Whew. All right, we got a bluff through. We got one through. We've got a low jack raise to 15, and I defend the big blind with a 10-9 suited. Straddle is off this hand, unfortunately. Flop comes down. Ace, queen, 3, 2 spades, 1 diamond. I go for the check. Low jack puts in a bet of 20. I'm gonna make the call here. Not a board I'm gonna want to be raising pretty much ever, so I just make the call turn. 6 of diamonds, I check, and my opponent checks behind. River. 4 of diamonds, not gonna help us. I check, my opponent checks behind, and he's got the 7s. That is gonna do it for him. So we've got a low jack raise to 30. I looked on a king, 9 of spades in the cutoff. Don't really want to call with this hand, so I decided to re-raise up to 100. We had a pretty quick cold call from the straddler, and the low jack calls as well. The straddler is the one who bet $100 on the river, and then I bluffed him with a 450 raise. He's quite a solid pro. He's just not going to be getting out of line. These are going to be some pretty strong medium strength pocket pairs, some ace queens perhaps, maybe some ace kings, like a pretty strong range here. Anyways, 3 ways does flop, jack 10, 8, rainbow. We do have an open-ender as well as the backdoor flush draw, but this is a board that's going to smash the cold caller's range, and it's also going to hit low jack very hard as well, so we're never getting this bet through. Unless they both have like pocket 7s or something. Like, it's just such a bad board to try and get one through against this configuration, so I check it back, turn. It's the 5 of diamonds. Under the gun now puts in a very big bet, 250. Getting close to pot here into 2 players out of position. Low jack folds, and it's a pretty frustrating bet size against our exact hand. You know, my overpairs, I might even consider just dropping quite a few of them here. I think queens I would call. With kings and aces, I might just start letting them go against this bet size. It's almost always going to be a set. Like, I'm 90% sure he's already got a set, but we do have an open-ender. He's got 1k behind, so let's try and hit it. We make the call. River is the goalpost, the 6 of spades. That is unfortunate, and now he's got about 900 behind and decides to bet 500. Yeah, that kind of sucks. If we hit our straight, it would have been nice, but unfortunately we were running into a set here. I'm almost positive, so I make the fold, unfortunately. We got pocket deuces. There's a raise to 32 colors. We defend the straddle. Let's hit a set. It comes down queen, 10, 8, rainbow. Unfortunate. Small blind checks, big blind checks. I check. Hijack bets $55. No set, no check call. We are out of there. On to this next hand. Middle position raise to 15. The straddle is off. If I'm in the big blind, the straddle's off. The player to my left was not straddling, but it doesn't matter. He's fine to do whatever he wants, but I make the call. Heads up to a flop of king 6-3, all diamonds. We flop the flush. I check it over, and my opponent checks behind. Turns nice, though. It's the ace of spades, which is going to prove a lot of his check back range. So I'm going to start a small bet here, $10, and he makes the call. River, 3 of hearts. Going to keep betting here. Don't want to go too big. Put in $35. He just gives it a shrug, makes the call. We do have the flush. He most likely had an ace, so small $122 pot coming our way. Okay, so we're only 5-handed for this next hand. We have an under the gun raise to 25. Cutoff is called, button is called. I decide just to flat this time with my ace king, and big blind calls as well. 5 ways to the flop, which is king, jack, 4, 1 spade, 2 clubs. I start with a check here. In these pots where you do all end up on the flop with 100% of your range, you don't want to be betting in the early position. So check, and unfortunately action checks through. Turn is the queen of hearts. Really don't like that card because 10-9 is a pretty easy check back for a lot of these people, but gonna have to get some protection here. I start with $40 and we take it down. Cutoff has raised to 30, and this is the very next hand, and we've got ace king again. We make it 100 to go, and he makes a pretty quick call. Heads up to this flop of 8, 7, 4, rainbow. My opponent checks to me, and once again, this is another big bet board. And something that I noticed was quite interesting was it kind of just drops hands like queen jack
It just doesn't like bluffing with those, and it actually really likes to bluff with ace king when you're using these big bets. I'm not really sure why. I'm still trying to figure out why it wants that, but I'm just going to listen to it. I'm just going to listen to Solver. So we put in a big bet here, 2-2-5. We go for the pot. My opponent gives it quite a bit of thought and makes the call. Heading to the turn, it is the 3 of hearts, pretty much a brick. My opponent once again checks it. I look over at his stack. He covers me, so we're looking about 1,200 behind. The pot's 600, so you're going to bet around 60% here to get it all in by the river. So that is what I do. 400 into the middle. We are going to blast off the river with this hand. My opponent once again makes the call. Hence the river. It's a really nice one. It's a 7 of diamonds. Doesn't change anything. He's not going to have an ace 7 here. And it makes pocket 7s and 8-7 suited a lot less likely. But before I can do anything, my opponent has snap shoved all in. He just saved me $775. Also, can I stop running into sets? Oh my god. Yeah, this is never like a bluff. This is never like 10-9 or something like that. This is just pocket 8s, maybe pocket 4s, 100% of the time. I don't think he's ever dealing with jacks, so yeah, we're running into so many full houses, aces, sets. It's not going well. Let's try and turn things around. We are gonna fold this hand, rebuy. I think we're in the game now for 2,500 or so. It's not fun, but we're still in it. We have an under the gun raise to 30. Low jack has called. Unfortunately, I missed the under the gun +2 had raised. Otherwise, I would have squeezed this hand, but I thought it was just low jack raise. But anyways, I make the call with a 9-8 of hearts, and we go 3 ways to this flop, which comes down. Queen, queen, 3, rainbow. Action checks to me. Just gonna check this back. Turn. King of clubs. Gonna once again check when it checks to me, and the river is the 4 of clubs. Nothing going on, so we just check it down, and pocket 7s from the low jack is gonna take that one down. Open up the pocket 7s in early position to $25. We had a call from the hijack as well as the straddle. We're going 3 ways to this flop, which comes down. King, queen, 3, 2 clubs, 1 heart. Action checks to me, and you know what they say. No set, you must bet. So I put in 25 into the middle. It supports me much better for me. We do have some turns we can continue barreling on. But hijack makes the call. Under the gun +1 gets out of the way. Turns the 8 of diamonds, and I just don't feel like continuing to barrel here. I think we've got a few better hands for it, so I decide to check this, and my opponent puts in a bet of 75. Unfortunately, that is the end of that adventure. We've got another playable hand here. Ace 8 of clubs and the hijack. Bump it up to $25. Folds around small blind, and the straddle make the call. 3 ways to this flop of ace 7-7 rainbow. Got the backdoor flush draw, but it's not a great board for the in-position player. Other players gonna have quite a few trips, so I'm just gonna check this one back with a weak ace. Turn. King of clubs. Pretty good. We pick up the nut flush draw. When it checks to me, gonna put in a small bet here, 25, and the straddle makes the call. River. It's a deuce of spades. Action checks to me again, and we're chopping with any ace here. Might as well put the pressure on. I don't think we're ever beat here, so I go for the overbet. 150 into the middle. We get a pretty quick call, and we are unfortunately chopping. Oh well. Bumping up the pocket 4s in early position up to $25. We got a button call. Then we got a squeeze from our friend up to $75. Very cheap. We make the call, so does a button. 3 ways to this flop, which comes down. King, 6, deuce. That's not a set. Under the gun puts in a bet of 90, and we are out of there. In this next hand, for whatever reason, I thought I was in the cutoff here. I'm in the low jack. This is way too loose. Even cutoff, I think without a straddle, this is totally fine. But with the straddle, I think it's very on the cusp. But low jack, this is way too wide. But anyways, 25 into the middle. Hijack has made the call. So does the button and the big blind and the straddle. We go 5 ways to this flop of 10, 4, deuce, 2 diamonds, 1 heart. We have an okay gut shot, but nothing else going on. And it's 5 ways. So we just check this back and action checks through. Turn's nice. It's the ace of hearts. We do improve to top pair, but action checks to me. I don't see any reason to bet here 5 ways. Just a little bit too thin. We don't need that much protection, so I check. Hijack bets 55. We make the call. River. 10 of clubs. It's a nice river. Makes it a bit less likely that he's got hand, like... I don't know. You know what? I think it's just going to slow him down. That's what I think. So I check, and happy to see my opponent check back. He announces ace. That's not good news, but I roll it over, and then he asks, is there a chop? And it shows the ace 3 of clubs, so very lucky that he had the only ace that we can actually beat. Opening up the 3s in the hijack up to $25. We get a caller from the small blind as well as a straddle. Three ways to this flop of Queen, Jack, 7, Rainbow. Small blind checks, under the gun checks, and you know what they say. No set, you must never bet, so I check it back. Turn, 4 of hearts, so close. Small blind now bets up for $75, really big bet here. There's no way I'm floating, so we're out of there. This next hand, we have an under the gun open up to $30. I looked down at King 9 of hearts in the small blind. This is going to be a 3-bet or fold for me. This time, I decide to put more money into the pot. 4x is open, 120 into the middle, folds around, and after a bit of thought, he makes the call. We go heads up to a flop of 10, 8, 4. Not a whole lot going on for us here. We don't even have a gut shot. And it's a board that's going to sort of interact kind of well with his range. So I decide just to check this one and give up. My opponent checks behind. Turn. It's a 6 of clubs. So we do pick up a gut shot here. So we do have some equity. And seeing as he didn't bet on the flop, I think he's going to be quite capped here. So I'm very happy to start stabbing here. And I think we want to use a pretty big sizing as well. So I go for pot here. 250 into the middle. After quite a bit of thought, my opponent once again makes a call. River. There's no help. It's a jack of clubs. The board's getting a little bit more connected. Now I think it over for a little bit, and I don't think he can have a strong hand here. You know, pocket 10s, 8s, jacks are all going to bet the flop. 6s is probably going to raise me on the turn. It's really hard for him to have a straight here. Like 9-7 would raise. Queen 9, I guess, makes sense, but Jack 10 would also bet the flop. I can't think of any strong hands he's going to have here. I think he's going to have some hands like pocket 9s, pocket 7s, pocket 5s. You know, all those hands can definitely call a turn bet, even that big. So I'm going to apply max pressure. I announce all in, and my opponent beats me into the pot, and we are running into another set. And that's going to end this session. Some very, very strong hands we ran into today. That is not going to do it, but still had an absolute blast playing. Let's cut to outro Sam. Okay, just wrapping up that session. Disaster. Just kept running to sets, aces, full houses. Yeah, not great. Just kept bluffing into the nuts. But anyways, today we lost $2,676 in that 2-5 game. I also lost another $149 playing 1-3 while waiting for a seat. So not a great day. Before this, the first session you saw in the video, I won $1,720. I can't do that math, but right here, that's how much I lost for this video. But overall, I still think I played very well across both sessions. I don't think I'm upset with any of my plays. I like them all. I have my reasons for them. Just ran into it. It's part of poker. But stick around. The next video is going to be something amazing. I am doing a brand new challenge. I'm going to save it for next video. But you guys are going to love it. It's going to be huge. It's going to be a ton of table footage. It's going to be a ton of struggles. And it's going to be fun. So hit the subscribe button if you want to stick around for that. Otherwise, I will see you guys never. See ya.